Sign it, or your daughter sleeps somewhere you'll never find her, my mother-in-law said, sliding the clipboard across the plastic table. Mila's fingers were wrapped around mine so tight my knuckles ached. She was 7, in a lavender hoodie, and she kept staring at the security guard by the door like he was going to decide whether she went home. The caseworker didn't look up. She just pushed a pen toward me and said, "If you refuse, we'll have to place her tonight. That's procedure, procedure," I repeated, tasting blood where I'd bitten my cheek. My sister-in-law, Kendra, leaned in with that soft, helpful voice she used when she wanted something. "Be reasonable, Elise. We're offering family. She'll be safe." Safe. Kendra's husband had been arrested last year for getting into fights outside bars. My chest tightened just thinking about Mila in their house. Mila whispered, "Mom, am I in trouble?" "No, baby," I said. My mother-in-law, Judith, patted Mila's shoulder like she was calming a dog. "This is for her own good. You've been unstable." Unstable was their favorite word for me. Not broke, not abandoned, not working 2 jobs. Unstable, like I was a weather system that might ruin their picnic. The pen rolled under my palm. My hands were shaking so hard the metal clicked against the table. "Temporary," Judith added, smiling like a nurse. "You get yourself together, and we revisit. Easy." The caseworker cleared her throat. "Miss Porter, we can do this the easy way or the hard way." "Easy for who?" I asked. Judith clasped her hands. "Elise, you lost your apartment. You lost your savings. You can't even keep your phone on. We are offering stability." Kendra nodded like a concerned therapist. "Mila needs consistency. Same bedtime, same meals. No more surprises. Surprises, meaning my life not revolving around them." Mila's eyes dropped to the form again. "Mom, if I go with them, can I still see you?" The question sliced me. Judith answered for me, gentle. "Of course, when it's appropriate." When it's appropriate. When they decided. When I behaved. I met Mila's gaze and forced myself to smile, because if she saw me panic, they'd call it proof. "You're not going anywhere you don't want to go," I whispered. Judith leaned closer, quiet enough that only I could hear. "Do you want Mila questioned about your episodes in front of strangers?" "Sign. Save her the trauma." My stomach twisted. "What episodes?" Judith's eyes glittered. "The ones we can describe." Affer. That was the moment I understood they didn't need truth. They needed a story that sounded believable. I slid the clipboard back. "I want my lawyer." Judith's smile didn't drop. It just sharpened. "You can't afford one." Kendra sighed, like I'd disappointed her. "Elise, you're making this harder. Remember what happened last time you got emotional?" Last time. The night my ex, Ryan, smashed my phone and then called the cops on me for disturbing the peace. The night Judith showed up after, comforting him, not me. My throat went dry. "This is about Ryan," I said. Judith's eyes flicked toward the caseworker. "This is about Mila," she corrected, "and about keeping her out of a shelter." The word shelter hit like a slap. They knew. They'd known for weeks. Mila's gaze lifted to mine, pleading without asking. The guard shifted his weight. The caseworker finally looked up, bored. Time was running out. I forced my voice. "Where did you even get this hearing scheduled?" Kendra smiled, proud. Family helps family. And then, under the table, Mila's little hand pressed something into my palm. A folded scrap of paper. Warm from her fist. A week ago, I would have sworn Judith couldn't touch us. I had a restraining order on Ryan. A cheap motel paid week to week, and a routine. Wake Mila, braid her hair on the edge of the bed, take her to school with a smile that hurt my face, then work until my legs felt like bricks. Then yesterday, someone from the agency called and said there was a mandatory meeting about educational stability. They knew Mila's school. They knew our motel address, even though I never put it on any form. This morning, when we walked into the building, Kendra was already there, holding a juice box like she'd just picked Mila up from soccer practice. She kissed Mila's forehead and said, "There you are, sweetheart," like I was the babysitter. Mila went stiff. I saw her eyes flick to Kendra's wrist. Kendra was wearing a beaded bracelet, pink and white one I'd never seen on her before. Mila's bracelet. I'd thought Mila lost it under the motel bed. Kendra smiled at my stare and said, "Cute, right? Kids leave things everywhere." And then Judith arrived with the clipboard, the guard, and the calm certainty of someone who had already decided the ending. I didn't unfold the note right away. I couldn't, because if it said what I was starting to suspect, then my baby hadn't just been scared. She'd been warned, and I was seconds away from signing her away. The paper in my hand was a torn corner of a kid's notebook. In Mila's crooked pencil it said, "Don't go with Aunt Kay." Mila didn't write notes like that. Mila wrote, "I love you" notes. Sticker notes. Notes with hearts. I leaned down and whispered, "When did you write this?" Her eyes stayed on the guard. "Last night," she breathed. "When Aunt Kay came to the motel." My stomach flipped. "She found us?" Mila nodded once quietly. "She said she had snacks. She said she knew the lady who can make you sign." Judith's heel tapped under the table, a steady metronome of control. "Elise," she warned, sweet as syrup. I swallowed. "We're not doing this," I told the caseworker. "I want to file a complaint. I want a supervisor." The caseworker's face didn't change, but her fingers paused on the keyboard. "Ma'am, you missed your previous housing check-in. You tested positive for sleep deprivation?" I snapped before I could stop myself. "For living in my car for 3 nights? Because your office never calls back?" Judith leaned back, satisfied. "See? Emotional." Kendra touched my forearm like she was comforting me. Her nails were perfect, pale pink. "Elise, stop. You're scaring her." Mila flinched, like my anger had a sound. I took a breath, forced my voice down. "Mila, look at me." She did, and her eyes were too grown. "Mom," Aunt Kay said, "if I don't behave, I'll have to live with strangers." Kendra's lips parted in fake surprise. "Oh, honey, I would never say—" "You did," Mila said. And it wasn't loud, but it landed. Judith's expression tightened. "Mila, that's not appropriate." I felt something inside me go cold and clean. This is how they did it. They wrapped threats in concern and then called you crazy when you reacted. I turned to the caseworker. "She's not going with them. My ex can't even be near a school without checking in. You know that." The caseworker sighed. "Your ex isn't the one seeking guardianship. His mother is. And his sister is listed as the day-to-day caregiver. Of course she was." Judith leaned forward. "Elise, stop dragging Ryan. He's trying. We're trying. You're the one without Elise." I wanted to scream that I had Elise, that I had one, that I lost it because Ryan drained our joint account the week he left and then sent his mother to help me pack. But that was old pain. And this room only cared about the paperwork in front of me. I lifted Mila onto my lap like she was still little enough to hide. "Listen to me," I whispered into her hair. "If anyone asks you anything today, you tell the truth, okay?" She nodded. Quick. Kendra's eyes narrowed. "Elise, don't coach her. Don't threaten her." I shot back. The caseworker stood up. I'm going to get my supervisor. Judith's hand caught my wrist as soon as the woman walked away. Her grip was firm, almost gentle, and that's what made it worse. You are humiliating yourself, she whispered. Sign it. Go get stable, then we'll talk. Otherwise, they'll take her, and you'll have no say. My mouth went numb. Why are you doing this? I asked, quietly. Judith's gaze flicked toward Mila like she was checking if she could hear. Because Mila deserves better than a motel and a mother who can't keep it together, Kendra added. And because Ryan's family has resources, we can give her a real life. Resources. That word always meant their life, their rules. I pried Judith's fingers off me. If you wanted to help, I said, you would have helped when we were sleeping in the car. Kendra's smile was pure pity. We tried. You refused. You were proud. Proud. Right. Because not answering their calls while I worked a night shift was refusing. The supervisor walked in. Older woman, tired, badge clipped to her sweater. She sat down, looked at the form, then at Mila. Hi, sweetheart, she said. Do you feel safe with your mom? Mila hesitated, glancing at Judith. My heart stopped. Judith's mouth curved slightly, the tiniest warning. Mila's hand tightened around mine. I feel safe with my mom, she said. I don't feel safe with Aunt Kay. Kendra laughed too fast. Oh my God. Elise, what did you tell her? Mila's voice wobbled but didn't break. Aunt Kay said I have to keep secrets. She said if I tell, Mom goes away. The supervisor's pen froze. Judith's face went smooth. Professional. Children. Misinterpret. The supervisor looked at me. Ma'am, why is your child saying that? Because she's telling the truth, I thought. Because my ex's family doesn't want her safe. They want her owned. I opened my mouth to answer, and Kendra's phone rang again. She glanced at the screen and went pale. Judith noticed. Who is that? Kendra swallowed. It's the bank. Kendra's hand fluttered to her wrist. The bracelet beads clicked softly when she moved. The supervisor's eyes followed the sound. Is that the child's bracelet? Kendra laughed, brittle. Oh, no. It's mine. Mila's chin lifted. It's Grandma Nina's, she said. It's mine. Judith jumped in fast. It's just jewelry. Let's not derail. But the supervisor didn't look away. Give it back. Right now, she told Kendra, unexpectedly firm. Kendra's face pinched. She slid the bracelet off and set it on the table. Mila snatched it and slipped it onto her wrist, breathing hard. I watched Judith's jaw tighten, like she'd lost a small battle she hadn't expected to fight here. And I knew, right then, the custody threat wasn't the only thing they were trying to take from me. Kendra silenced the call. But the damage was done. Her panic didn't match a normal Tuesday bank call. It matched someone who thought a secret had leaked. Judith's eyes pinned her. Answer it. Answer. Kendra shook her head. Not here. The supervisor cleared her throat. If there are financial stressors impacting this case, I need to know. Judith smiled politely. There aren't. We're fine. I let out a short, bitter laugh. You're fine. I'm the one you're trying to erase. Before the supervisor could respond, my phone vibrated. Unknown number. I almost ignored it. My life was a parade of spam calls, but something told me to pick up. This is Miss Halstead, a woman said. I represent Eleonora Mercer. My stomach dropped. Eleonora Mercer was my father's sister, my aunt. Wealthy, private, the kind of person who sent birthday checks with no note. I hadn't spoken to her in years. Judith hated her, called her cold money. When? I'm Elise, I managed. Yes. the lawyer said. Your aunt has been trying to reach you. There's an urgent matter regarding a custodial trust. Judith's head snapped toward me. Kendra's mouth went slightly open. The supervisor leaned in. Ma'am, is this related to the child? It's related to my daughter, the lawyer said, like she'd heard through the speaker, and to money that has been accessed without authorization. My pulse thudded in my ears. I put the phone on speaker without thinking. Judith's voice turned honeyed. Hello, this is Judith. Elise is very overwhelmed. Perhaps we should discuss privately. The lawyer didn't bite. No, I'm comfortable discussing basic facts. A trust was established for Mila when her grandfather passed. The trustee of record is not Elise. It is, Kendra made a small choking sound. The lawyer continued. Judith Barnes. I couldn't breathe. What? Judith's face stayed calm, but her eyes were furious. That's a misunderstanding. No, the lawyer said. It's on file, and funds have been withdrawn monthly for the last 6 months. 6 months. The same 6 months I'd been eating gas station dinners and stretching one hoodie through 3 growth spurts. The supervisor's eyes sharpened. Ma'am, did you know there was a trust? I shook my head. Numb. No. No, Kendra whispered. Elise, please. I stared at her. You knew. Do. Judith set her palm on the table, steadying her voice. Elise, darling, your aunt is stirring trouble. This has nothing to do with today. It has everything to do with today, I said. You're not taking my daughter because I'm unstable. You're taking her because you think she comes with an account. Mila's eyes darted between us. Mom, what's a trust? I forced a smile I didn't feel. A promise someone made for you, baby. The supervisor stood. I'm pausing this guardianship request immediately. We're moving to an interview room. Separately. Now. Judith's mask cracked for half a second. You can't. I can, the supervisor said. And if your names are on accounts tied to this child, law enforcement may be involved. Kendra's face went gray. Judith turned to me. Low voice. All warmth gone. You are going to regret humiliating this family. I leaned closer. You humiliated us when you made my child beg for stability. They separated us. Mila went with a female officer to a room with coloring sheets. I went with the supervisor. Judith and Kendra disappeared down the hall, whispering like frantic birds. In the interview room, the supervisor asked me questions. Where I'd been staying, why I hadn't reported it, whether Mila had ever been hurt. I answered, blunt and tired. Then she asked, Why did you leave your husband? I didn't want to hand Ryan any more space in my story. But the truth mattered, because he kept forgetting to pick Mila up, I said. Because he'd show up drunk and call it stress. Because he started telling Mila I was crazy whenever I cried. The supervisor nodded slowly. And his family? They clean up after him, I said. They don't love Mila. They love the idea of her. My phone buzzed again. A text from the unknown lawyer number. Check your email. Documents attached. Through the thin wall, I heard Mila's small voice answering questions. Yes. My mom makes dinner. Yes. She reads to me. No. She doesn't hit me. Yes. Aunt Kay said she'd fix everything if I came with her. Then Mila said something I didn't expect. She told me not to tell the lady about the man who sleeps on their couch. My blood ran hot. Kendra had a man sleeping on her couch around kids, and she wanted my daughter there? The supervisor's eyes widened. What man? I don't know, I admitted. She scribbled a note so hard the pen scratched. Okay, she said slowly. That's a safety concern we have to follow up on. I opened the file. A PDF. trust statement, withdrawal history, and a scanned signature. My signature. Only it wasn't mine. Someone had forged my name to move money out of my daughter's future. And whoever did it had copied the looping E from the signature on my old driver's license, the one Ryan kept in a drawer for emergencies. My hands went ice cold, then numb. If they could fake my signature, what else could they fake? And how close had I come to signing the one paper they couldn't forge my consent to give Mila away? If you're still here, don't go anywhere. Because the next part is where I realized this wasn't just about custody. It was a coordinated takedown of me and of the thing in my life they couldn't stand to see me keep. They released me late afternoon with pending investigation hanging over my head like a storm cloud. Mila came out of her interview room, clutching a juice box and refusing to look down the hallway where Judith had disappeared. In the car, she said, Aunt Kay told me to call her Mom Kay if anyone asked. I bet. My grip tightened on the steering wheel. Did she touch you? Mila shook her head fast. No, but she looked in my backpack. She took my bracelet from Grandma Nina, my mom's mom gone 2 years. Mila wore that little beaded bracelet like a shield. She said it was too sentimental, Mila added. And she said you're not allowed to cry because crying makes judges mad. Her voice stayed calm, and that scared me more today. I pulled into a grocery store parking lot and just sat there, breathing through rage so I didn't scare her. Listen, I said. If anyone ever tells you to keep a secret from me, you tell me, even if you're scared. Mila nodded, then whispered, Mom, are they going to take you away? Well, no. I lied, then corrected myself because she deserved better than my panic. They're going to try, and we're not going to let them. I drove us back to the cheap, extended stay motel where we'd been living one room. 2 beds, a carpet, and a microwave that smelled like burnt popcorn. When we walked in, my stomach sank. A bright orange notice was taped to our door. Eviction. Non-payment. My phone buzzed while I stared at it. Marla. I heard you might need time off. Call me. My throat tightened. Judith had already reached her. The invite list wasn't an accident. It was a hit list. I called Marla with Mila sitting on the bed, hugging her stuffed cat like it could protect her. Hey, Marla said carefully. Judith called the office. She said, you're dealing with recovery. I felt my face go hot. I'm not in recovery. I'm in survival. Silence. Then Marla's voice softened. Elise, I don't care what she says. I care what you say. Are you safe? I'm trying, I said. Then come in tomorrow after you handle your kid, she said. Bring whatever paperwork you have. I'm not firing you over rumors. Inside, our room looked wrong. The suitcase was open. The drawer where I kept my pay stubs was pulled out. Mila's stuffed cat was on the floor like it had been thrown. Mila made a small sound. Someone was here. I stepped back into the hall and marched to the office. Who went into my room? I demanded. The clerk looked nervous. Miss Barnes called, he said, eyes flicking to a note taped under the counter. She said she's your emergency contact. She asked us to pack your things because you were being relocated, Judith. Of course, she'd listed herself as my emergency contact at some point. She loved paperwork because it let her rewrite reality. I never authorized that, I said. The clerk shrugged helplessly. She paid a balance you owed. I don't owe a balance, I said, voice rising. He slid a receipt toward me. Paid by Kendra Barnes. Card ending 4,412. They paid my motel bill to control me. Back downstairs? I asked the clerk. Did you see who went into my room? He hesitated, then tilted his monitor so I could see the grainy security feed from the hallway. The timestamp was yesterday afternoon while I was at work. Kendra's profile filled the screen. Hair in a neat ponytail. Carrying a tote bag like she was shopping, she unlocked my door with a keycard. Not a master key, a guest key, meaning someone had requested an extra keycard to my room in my name. The clerk pointed to a signature line on the screen. It was digital, scribbled, fast, and it matched the forged signature on the trust document. Same lazy curve, same fake confidence. My stomach turned. Back in the room, I checked my email again. Aunt Eleonora's lawyer had sent more documents. The trust setup, the change of trustee filing, and a letter stamped with a notary seal. My ex's handwriting was on it. Ryan Barnes consents. My ex had signed something to give his mother control over Mila's money, without me even knowing the account existed. I called the lawyer back. How did my mother-in-law become trustee? A pause. Your aunt funded the trust, she said. She did it quietly because she didn't trust your husband's family. She instructed the trustee to be you, Elise, but the paperwork was amended. Someone filed a change, claiming you were incapacitated. Incapacitated? I repeated, stunned. Yes, the lawyer said. The attached statement claims you were undergoing treatment for substance abuse and could not manage finances. I almost laughed. I worked at a daycare by day and cleaned offices at night. I didn't have time for a substance abuse problem. I barely had time to pee. Mila tugged my sleeve. Mom? I looked at her, and the rage turned into something sharper. They weren't just trying to take my daughter. They were building a case that I shouldn't be allowed to have her. That's when I got another notification, a calendar invite. From Judith. Family mediation. Tomorrow, 10 a.m. Location: St. Cora Church, Community Hall. And the attendee list wasn't private. It included our pastor, 2 of Ryan's cousins, and my boss. They weren't going to fight me in court first. They were going to ruin me in public, and then they were going to call it. For Mila, I didn't sleep. Mila fell asleep with her shoes on, ready to run. I sat on the edge of the motel bed and watched the orange streetlight leak through the curtains, scrolling through every document until the words blurred. At 3:17 a.m., I noticed a detail that made my stomach turn. The notary stamp on the incapacitated letter wasn't from our county. It was from 2 states away. I called Aunt Eleonora's lawyer at dawn. If I show up to this mediation, what happens? You'll be ambushed, she said. But sometimes ambushes are useful if you control the exit. I don't have money for a legal war, I said. You have documentation, she replied. And you have a child who's already disclosed coercion. That matters. Then she added, your aunt is flying in today. Go? I blinked. She's… what? She's tired of being lied to, the lawyer said. And she wants to meet her great niece. At St. Cora, the community hall smelled like coffee and lemon cleaner. Folding chairs were set up in a half circle. And there, at the front, was Judith, smiling, composed, standing beside Pastor Lou, and my boss, Marla, who looked uneasy. Kendra sat with her arms folded, eyes darting, like she wanted to disappear but didn't know how. Judith spotted me and opened her arms. Elise, she said loudly, for everyone. We've been so worried. I didn't hug her. I just walked past and pulled Mila close to my side. Pastor Lou cleared his throat. We're here to support a family in crisis. Judith nodded. Exactly. We're not here to blame. We're here to protect Mila. Marla wouldn't meet my eyes. Judith handed Pastor Lou a folder. We've prepared a plan, she said. Temporary guardianship. Stable home. Elise can get treatment. We'll cover her rehab. My lungs tightened. Rehab. She was saying it out loud. In front of my employer. In front of people who knew my name. Mila pressed her face into my hip. I looked at Pastor Lou. Did you ask me if I needed rehab before you agreed to this meeting? He hesitated. Judith said, She says a lot. I cut in. Judith's smile didn't move. Elise, don't be defensive. You've had a hard year. There's no shame in help, Kendra chimed in, voice soft. We'll even let you visit. Supervised. Until you're better. Supervised. Like I was dangerous. I set my phone on the table and tapped the screen. Before we start, I said, I want to play something. Judith's eyes narrowed. What is that? A recording, I said. From your daughter's mouth. Marla finally looked at me, alarmed. I pressed play. Mila's voice filled the room. Shaky, but clear. I'd recorded her in the car earlier, after asking her to tell me exactly what Kendra said at the motel. Aunt Kay said if I don't go with her, Mom will disappear, Mila's voice said. She said judges don't like moms who cry. She took my bracelet and said it made Mom weak. Silence. The air felt thick. Kendra's face flushed bright red. She's confused, she blurted. Mila looked up. Eyes wet. I'm not confused. Judith's voice stayed calm. Children are influenced. That's interesting, I said, and my hands stopped shaking. Because I have something else. I slid the printed trust statement onto the table. This is my daughter's trust. The one I didn't know existed. The one you've been withdrawing from. Pastor Lou blinked. Judith, is this true? Judith didn't even glance down. That account covers Mila's needs, like paying my motel bill so you could enter my room? I snapped. Marla's face changed. You've been in a motel? Judith turned to Marla, quick, smooth. Elise has been struggling. We've been trying to keep it discreet so she can keep her employment. Keep it discreet. The audacity. The side door opened, and a woman walked in like she owned the air. Tall, silver hair, coat, eyes that didn't ask permission. Aunt Eleonora. The room went quiet. She looked at me first. Not with pity, with focus. Then she looked at Judith. Hello, Judith, she said. Judith's nostrils flared. Eleonora, this is not your place. Eleonora's gaze swept the chairs. The pastor, my boss, you're hosting an intervention for a mother you've been framing, she said. In a church, Pastor Lou stammered. Ma'am, we're just… Please, Eleonora said. And the room obeyed. Then she turned to me. Elise, did you ever sign to change the trustee on Mila's account? No, I said. Eleonora nodded once, like she'd expected that. She pulled a second folder from her bag and set it down. Then, this is fraud. Judith's smile finally cracked. You don't know what you're talking about. Eleonora opened the folder. I know exactly what I'm talking about, because I have the original instructions, and I have the notary's travel log. Kendra made a small sound. Like a balloon leaking air. Eleonora's eyes flicked to her. And I know which one of you drove to Pine Hollow to get a stamp. Kendra's face went white. Judith turned slowly toward her daughter. Kendra? Kendra's mouth opened. Nothing came out. And I realized, with a jolt, Judith hadn't planned this part, which meant Kendra had been running her own game. And if Judith didn't know, then the person I thought was the mastermind might just be the cover. I held Mila closer, because now I didn't know which one of them would do something desperate first. Judith stared at Kendra like she was seeing her for the first time. Kendra's eyes were glossy, but not with remorse, more like cornered animal panic. Marla, my boss, stood off to the side, pale. I met her eyes once and she gave a tiny nod like, I'm here. I'm listening. Eleonora slid a business card across the table to the pastor. "There will be a formal report filed today," she said. "If anyone here received misinformation about Elise's health, you will be contacted." Judith's eyes went sharp. "You can't threaten a church." "I'm not threatening," Eleonora replied. "I'm correcting." Kendra finally found her voice, thin and trembling. "Mom, I did it because I had to." Judith snapped. "Had to what?" Kendra's gaze darted to me. Then, away. "I had debts." Eleonora opened her folder again and pulled out a page. "Casino cash advances," she said flatly. "Multiple. And you used Mila's trust to cover them." Kendra shook her head, tears spilling now. "It wasn't like that. I thought I'd pay it back. I just needed time." Judith's voice cracked, angry and embarrassed. "You stole from a child." David Ground. Kendra flinched. "You told me to handle it." Judith froze. "Excuse me?" Kendra's shoulders rose like she was bracing for impact. "You said Elise was weak. You said if we got Mila, everything would be easier. You said Ryan would finally look like a real father." My stomach dropped. "Ryan knows?" Judith's eyes slid away for half a second. A half second was enough. Eleonora looked at me. "Elise," she said gently, "do you want the answer? Or do you want comfort?" "Answer," I whispered. Eleonora nodded. "Ryan signed the trustee change request as a supporting party. He also signed the petition that called you incapacitated." My hands went numb. I heard Mila's small breathing beside me, heard the faint hum of the church's old heater, and it all felt far away. Judith tried to recover. Ryan was confused. He was under stress. He just wanted Mila safe. Eleonora's gaze didn't move. "He wanted control," she corrected. "And you provided the story." Kendra covered her face. "I didn't think Elise would end up in a motel," she sobbed. "I thought she'd come crawling back. You thought my child was leverage," I said, and my voice was so calm it scared me. Eleonora turned to me. "We're leaving," she said. "Now." Judith stepped forward, blocking the doorway like she could still play gatekeeper. "You can't just take Mila. We have paperwork." The supervisor from yesterday walked in at that exact moment, 2 officers behind her. Someone had called them. Maybe Eleonora. Maybe the universe finally doing me one favor. "Judith Barnes?" the supervisor asked. "We need to speak with you and Kendra Barnes regarding allegations of coercion and financial exploitation of a minor." "Access." Judith's face went waxy. "This is ridiculous," one officer spoke. Neutral. "Ma'am, please come with us." Kendra started shaking so hard her chair squeaked. "Mom, help me." Judith looked at her daughter. And for a brief second, I saw it. Judith's real fear wasn't jail. It was being seen as the kind of mother who raised Kendra. She lifted her chin. "Kendra acted without my knowledge," she said loudly. "I will cooperate fully." Kendra's head snapped up. "What?" Judith didn't look at her. "You made your choices." Kendra's sob turned into a laugh sharp, broken. "You told me family covers family," she said. "Now you're throwing me away?" Judith's mouth tightened. "Don't dramatize." The officers escorted them out. The room stayed silent. Eleonora touched my elbow. "Come on." We walked Mila out of the hall and into daylight. She blinked at the sun like she hadn't realized the world kept turning. In Eleonora's car, Mila buckled herself in and asked the simplest question. "Are we going home now?" I swallowed. "We're going somewhere safe," I said. Eleonora drove us to a quiet townhouse on a tree-lined street. Inside, it was clean, warm, calm. "This is yours for now," Eleonora said. "Lease in your name. No intermediaries." My knees almost gave out. Why now? I asked. Eleonora looked at Mila, then at me. Because I was told you were fine, she said. And because I believed the wrong people. That night, Mila slept in a bed that didn't squeak. I sat on the floor beside her and watched her chest rise and fall until my heart slowed down. Ryan texted to blame me. I blocked him. Within weeks, the forged documents and the withdrawals were confirmed. Everyone tried to spin it. Paperwork didn't care. Mila got her bracelet back. Eleonora's lawyer retrieved it from Kendra's house as part of evidence collection. And when Mila snapped it onto her wrist again, she held it up like it was armor. And me? I kept my job. Marla apologized awkwardly, honestly, and offered me extra hours without asking questions. I started therapy because that kind of manipulation leaves bruises you can't see. Mila's laugh came back slowly. And every time I heard it, I remembered what we escaped. Here's what I still can't stop thinking about. And I want you to weigh in. Judith says she was protecting Mila. Kendra says she was desperate. Ryan says he was trying to keep the peace. So tell me, when family uses the words, for the child, to take control, where do you draw the line? Would you ever forgive them? Or is cutting them off the only way to keep a kid safe? Drop your take in the comments. And if you know someone living through this kind of quiet family warfare, share this story with them. Someone out there needs to hear that family isn't an excuse to steal a child's future.